I don't think anyone had predicted how successful season 1 of The Monkees would be. Whilst putting together a TV show about a young band during the 60s sounded like a recipe for success, they just brought the right people together to make something not only insanely popular, but special. However, with the Monkees themselves vying for more control, particularly over their music, the second season is a combination of those more traditional sitcom-style episodes with more experimental ones. Much like their change musically, the change in the show really splits much of the audience down the middle, with some not liking the looser style, and others loving its more bonkers illicit substance-inspired weirdness. So, without further ado, let's dive into my ranking of The Monkees Season 2, in original broadcast order.
If you leave, he will punish the entire town!
Baby, if I don't leave, you're gonna punish my entire body!
The Monkees break down in the middle of Mexico. Unfortunately, Davy falls for the girl the local bandit has his eyes on. Cowboy pastiche ensues. What a great start to this series! There are so many great jokes here, with one my brother and I ended up quoting a lot for some reason.
Give me my lucky holster.
Lucky holster? Which one's your lucky holster?
The one with a gun in it.
There's a really fun western themed romp at the end of the show to my dad's favourite Monkees song, What Am I Doing Hanging Around?
What am I doing hanging round? I should be on that train and gone.
I don't usually like country music, but of course the Monkees are an exception, and this is probably my favourite of their songs in the genre. We can already see a departure from the previous series, and TV structure in general, by ending with the climax romp and not having any kind of final resolution seen at the end, the first sign of changes to come. This was, of course, the first episode to have For Pete's Sake in the closing credits, which I love so much. It's written by Tork, and I just love the message of the song. Bless his little hippie heart.
We were born to love one another. This is something we all need.
That and Dolen's vocals are great as always. I was really surprised at how instantly it feels different from the first series. I can't tell if the writers are better at writing for them, the Monkees themselves are more confident in the silliness of the show, or both. It definitely feels like it's hitting its stride here. The laughs track is still here, of course, but thankfully they do get rid of it later in the series. If you've seen my reviews on Series 1, you know that I'm going to be bringing up the racial stereotyping, but honestly I don't think it's that bad here. Of course, I'm going to recommend you don't show this episode to very young children due to the stereotypes, but I will say that I definitely don't think it's as bad as previous episodes like Monkee Chow Mein and Son of a Romani person, which were both as egregious as you could possibly be with this. From a cursory glance at the names on IMDb, it looks like only the love interest and the main villain weren't Hispanic, and the latter appears to be the only one wearing fake tan. I'm just erring on the side of caution here. And if you're going to the comments to complain about me doing that, I'm saving my thoughts on you for everywhere a Sheik. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to make sure you're the first to see that. Going back to the cast, Peter Whitney is good as El Diablo. He's probably not the best they've had on the show, but he's certainly good. All of the character actors in these villain roles tend to be.
If you try to resist, you will suffer indescribable torture.
And if I don't resist?
Describable torture.
Cynthia Hull is playing it straight like pretty much every actress playing a love interest on this show, but I will say that I think she and Davy have above average chemistry.
Angelita. That's a very pretty name. It means little angel. My name's David.
What does David mean?
David means business, baby.
All in all, great episode. It really sets the tone for the rest of the series, which is the one I prefer out of the two. I can understand why some people prefer the first one, as it's better structured and is more comfortable with just being a kids' sitcom, but I think the second series tries to be something more, and I love it for that.
It's like I told you, but we thought we were doing a movie.
If you know what's good for you, you'll change your tune.
Well, it's like I told you. We thought we were doing a movie.
Mickey, Mike and Davy are hired to star in a film as bank robbers. However, their employers are really crooks who are using them to rob a bank for them. Now that they've been arrested for a crime they didn't realise they committed, it's up for Peter to find the evidence to prove their innocence. This is an alright one. The bank robbery scene is fun.
I'm the robber. Will you please put the thing down? Hollywood.
The interrogation scene is very silly, and it's funny seeing how excited the guys are over watching themselves in the CCTV footage.
What do you say? It's Barry Sullivan, maybe, huh? Or Paul Newman?
Hey, I was pretty good. You see, I scared myself right there.
Oh, look at that. See how I'm smiling there at the camera? Golden teeth.
The guys do some fun characters whilst trying to defend themselves in court.
Do you think your son could ever rob a bank?
Oh, Mickey? No, not Mickey. It's a nice little boy. Of course, he could have gotten involved with some long-haired weirdos.
The police inspector here is played by Dort Clark, who also played an inspector in the Series 1 episode Monkees a la carte, and would later go on to play one in the Monkees on the Wheel. He's not acknowledged as a returning character within the show. I don't think it was intended in the script. I'm pretty sure they just decided to keep casting him. He's good. Cliff Norton and Jonathan Harper do a good but unremarkable turn as the typical crook and dumb henchman duo. The romp to Pleasant Valley Sunday and the disused film sets is fun.
Another Pleasant Valley Sunday.
The song works surprisingly well for one of these chase romps. This Carole King song is wonderful, still retaining the sunny tone of the Monkees' earlier work, whilst having a sense of discontent and awareness that is reflected in both their music and in the show itself.
Creature comfort goes, they only know my soul.
Then the episode ends as soon as possible, instead of having a final tag scene, like the last episode, instead showing the Rainbow Room performance of Mickey's song Randy Scouse Git, otherwise known as alternate title. By the way, to the uninitiated, the Rainbow Room is the backdrop where a lot of the Series 2 music videos were filmed. It's probably one of the most iconic visuals in the show. As for the song itself, it's one of my favourites. I love the two very different tones of the chirpy verses and the loud chorus, which show off the two sides of Mickey's range very well.
She's a wonderful lady and she's mine, all mine. Why don't you hate her? I hate you. I kill to be free.
It's also fun to listen to the lyrics, as they are recounting Mickey's time in London, where he met his soon-to-be wife, Top of the Pops host Samantha Joost,
It's too easy humming songs to a girl in yellow dress.
and the Beatles.
The four kings of EMI sitting stately on the floor.
The title comes from a line Mickey heard on British sitcom Till Death Do Us Part, unaware that it meant horny Liverpudlian jerk. However, their British record label refused to publish it unless it was given an alternate title, so Mickey just decided to call it alternate title. Anyway, back to the episode. All in all, quite an average episode. Fun, but nothing special. I'm putting this below the previous episode, The Monkees in Mexico. It's good, but I'm more likely to rewatch the other one.
This king kidnapped me and he wants me to marry his daughter.
Nice looking?
Well, you know, he's not bad for
No, his daughter.
A princess of a Middle Eastern country is told that she must be married. Her father's advisor wants her to marry him, but she instead chooses Davy out of a magazine. I don't understand why they're so broke if their pictures are in all of these glossy magazines. Whilst he is apprehensive at first, Davy soon falls for the girl, and the guys are won over by promises of riches, government positions, and of course, girls. However, the king's evil advisor is keen to cut them out of the picture. So basically it's Royal Flush crossed with Aladdin. This episode is fine. It feels very much like a season 1 script, which it may well have been, but the guys' conviction in their own silliness is what makes it feel more like a season 2 episode. They're on top form here. It's notable for being the first appearance of Monty Landis, who appears in 7 episodes in this season in different roles. It's interesting to see him in an odd villainous role for a change. The rest of the supporting cast is the usual standard. Very good, but there's nothing that makes them stand out against similar characters from other episodes. I don't know much about negative portrayals of Arab characters in media, but I know enough to know that this is not good. I don't think it's as bad as the racially offensive episodes of season 1, but it's certainly bad. Obviously, I'm aware that this is a product of its time, but as usual, I'm going to advise against showing this episode to younger children. Despite most of the comments I've had from the baby boomer generation on my channel being wonderfully supportive, sharing their joy of older media and often sharing their stories, I have had a small handful of rather spiteful comments from people who are angry at me for pointing out that these depictions have aged badly. Yes, I know things were different in the past, and I am used to being forgiven to a certain degree based on how old something is and enjoying it regardless. I mean, come on, I have the Help box set. However, we're not watching them in the past, we're watching them now. It can affect people's enjoyment whilst watching them, and children shouldn't be showing them until they are old enough to have nuanced discussions about these topics. They generally appear to be very militant and closed off from any conversations on the matter. Honestly, I think they need to listen to the closing credits a little harder. The battle romp at the end was alright, and it was To Love Is Only Sleeping, which is a song I absolutely love.
Love is only sleeping.
Nesmith's vocals are beautiful in this, as are the backing vocals from the rest of them. Then we get one of 2 videos for Cuddly Toy, the first song for the band written by Harry Nilsson. Nilsson would go on to write Daddy's Song from Head, as well as be friends with Mickey Dolenz for the rest of his life. I highly recommend checking out his work if you haven't already, as long as you avoid the film he made with his other celebrity bestie, Ringo Starr, Son of Dracula. I already made 2 videos on that, and it was the worst mistake of my life. It's a chirpy song, without going into bubblegum pop, with a message that playfully undermines the tone of the rest of the song. This video has a great little dance with Davey and choreographer Anita Mann, and they have great chemistry together in this. The episode finishes with the first interview segment of the season. If you've seen my season 1 reviews, then you know that these were the highlight for me. If memory serves, there were sadly fewer of these in season 2, but at least we got the celebrity interviews in later episodes. This segment has some fun moments, like recounting when a fan sent herself to Davey.
What happened to her? Popped her back in again.
We shipped it to the Beatles.
But it flicks between things pretty quickly. It doesn't give us the time to see them open up or be sufficiently silly.
Soul brother. My sister had another baby.
I had all the windows of my cars painted black. Hi, America. Hi, television land.
If memory serves, this was recorded between takes of the Rainbow Room, which is recorded between tour dates, so they would have been pretty tired. Mickey's notably exhausted and his social battery is clearly low.
Mickey, does he think
I really hate these interviews.
Tell me, Mick, where did you get your hair? Oh.
So, all in all, an average season 2 episode. It's fun, there's some great songs, and it's a definite improvement over season 1, but it doesn't stand out above the rest. I'm putting this one above the picture frame, but below the Monkees in Mexico. It was tricky though. It hasn't fully departed from season 1's style, but it has been more consistent thus far.
Time to launch the campaign. Yes, no, he's not a ship.
Not a ship.
No.
The SS Magnetic.
The Monkees' elderly neighbours get evicted by the local council to build a new car park. After Mike's attempts to stick up for them fall on the deaf ears of the corrupt mayor, he decides to run for mayor himself. However, the local car park magnate pulling the strings has a few dirty tricks up his sleeve. Remember in previous reviews when I said that the sentimentality of some of the season 1 episodes was surprisingly effective and succeeded in not being soppy? Well, there are fewer moments like this in season 2, but they do work better. Mike's monologue at the end is genuinely heartfelt and poignant, possibly more so in watching it as an adult after we've become disillusioned with authority ourselves. Thankfully, Mike pulls it out of the bag. There are some other episodes of this season where he's very obviously sick of the show and not giving it 100%, but that's not the case here. The rest of the episode still feels like a late season 1 script with a few alterations here and there. It doesn't double down on the madness yet, but it is starting to embrace it. As for the humour, there are a handful of references to American presidential history that I didn't entirely get, but that's for a pretty brief scene.
Too honest, nobody'd ever think of him as mayor.
What do you mean too honest? How can you be too?
I thought that this joke worked very well.
Our country was settled in 1612. Luckily, they moved those Indians. Why throwing people out of their homes is the American way.
I like that there's a little reference to the chaperone here.
It wasn't the cleaning lady. She only comes on the second Thursday of every month with an R in it.
Is this your day to clean?
Of course, you remember. Second Tuesday of every month with an R in it.
It's pretty rare that there's anything resembling continuity in the Monkees, but there you go. As for the supporting cast, Monty Landis is back in the first of his many villain roles of the series, this time as an American businessman who has the mayor in his pocket. He's good as always, but it's one of the less memorable performances. The mayor, played by Erwin Cherone, is good, but isn't really anything to write home about. Fun fact, the secretary here is played by Kathy Wakefield, who would later go on to become a successful Motown songwriter and soundtrack composer. As for the music, there's a good campaign montage too. Only kidding. It's To No Time, a song that's both not groundbreaking in terms of genre, but is still a really good song and a sign of the difference in musical direction between seasons. It's a very clear throwback to 1950s rock and roll. The show finishes with the Rainbow Room music video for Pleasant Valley Sunday, a Carole King song I've discussed in previous reviews. In a nutshell, it's a song by Carole King that has a chirpy tone reminiscent of their earlier bubblegum pop image, but with a more ambitious sound and lyrics sung by Mickey's beautifully soft voice that contradict the tone with the bubbling discontent underneath. Anyway, I think that this was the first appearance of the full Rainbow Room video, and it's great. Peter and Davy are clearly having the time of their lives, and it's infectious. All in all, a lovely little episode. A pretty average season 2 episode with the exception of the monologue at the end. Its well-executed sentimentality puts it above The Picture Frame and Everywhere a Sheik, but under Monkees in Mexico. That's probably the funniest episode of the series so far.
Get out of here! Wait. That'll be $1,500. For my painting on your shirt. Someday it'll be worth a fortune.
It turns out that Pete has the ability to paint hyper-realistic copies. When he goes to an art museum to look for inspiration, his talents are discovered by a dodgy security guard, who uses him to paint a picture of a painting he plans to steal.
Why don't you paint something like this?
You're right.
When the lads go to look for him, it doesn't go according to plan. Monty Landis is back in his 3rd appearance in the show, I think? It's another great villain role for him. I wasn't sure if he was going for Italian or Italian-American with that accent here, but that may just be because I'm rubbish at detecting accents. The other bad guy, played by Vic Tayback, is another big dumb heavy who conveniently needs the villain to explain his plan to him. There's nothing to write home about. In fact, I hadn't even noticed that Tayback had already appeared in similar roles in both Your Friendly Neighbourhood Kidnappers and Son of a Romani Person. I love the bit where they go looking for Peter and Mickey stumbles across this eccentric beatnik artist whilst Mike watches Liberace smashing up a grand piano with a golden sledgehammer. It's the kind of random silly things that I like in this show. I love the bit where they break in to put the real painting back too. Mike does a voiceover that gives them all code names like crooks in a heist movie, and Mickey's nickname is the Los Angeles Leopard, and Mickey clearly loves it because he acts like a cat the whole time, which I get the feeling is improvised. We get to see some groovy new furniture in the pad, like the painted fridge, and this cool thing with flashing lights that I've never spotted before. What is that? Anyway, the episode climaxes with a fantastic chase romp to Randy Scouse Git, which I have discussed before. It's written by Mickey, it's about a time in London, and it's one of my favourites, with a great clash between the calm and chirpy verses and the boisterous chorus.
There are birds out on the sidewalk and a ballet at the door. Why don't you hate who I hate you? I kill to be free.
The episode ends with a Rainbow Room video for Daydream Believer, which is probably the most iconic music video segment in the whole show.
Cheer up, sleepy Jean. What can it mean?
It's an infectious, chirpy song that just skirts the edge of being too saccharine. I'm not always in the mood for the song itself, but the video is like injecting endorphins directly into my bloodstream. I love watching them muck about. Oh, and I think there's a bit of strings missing before the final chorus in this version. There's often differences between versions of songs in episodes and ones used in the albums, especially if they're sat on for a long time, like Words or You Just May Be the One. This is another average Season 2 episode for me. Funnier and weirder than Season 1, and with better musical numbers, but still not one I'd consider putting in my top 10. It's a very tricky one, but I think I'll put it just under Monkee Mayor, but above Everywhere a Sheik.
I hope I'm not in time. I hope I'm in time.
What's the matter, Doc?
Let me see your bag. Not your bag, dear.
Mickey is trying to impress a girl called Brenda, but keeps getting upstaged by the local muscle man, who looks like he was made by Frankenfurter.
How you doing, chick? Hey, haven't we met somewhere before?
Yeah, before.
Whilst Peter and Davy try to help Mickey build up his strength on the cheap, the lure of a bodybuilding course that is the price of Mickey's drums may well tear the band apart. The leader of the cult-like bodybuilding course is played by Monty Landis, and if you've seen the show before, you'll know that that means that there's an 86% chance that he's dodgy as hell.
Look at you. Just look at you! The two of you huddled in the corner. Just look at him. Yes, look at him. He's dead.
He's good as always. Not his most iconic role in the show, but still great. He always does the job well, and you can see why they kept inviting him back, even if having him on 4 episodes in a row feels like a bit much. As you may have noticed, Mike wasn't there during the filming of this episode. I believe I'm right in thinking that he was having an operation done on his throat at the time, which is why he misses a few in this season. As Mike's my favourite, when I used to watch this show regularly, I rarely revisited this one. I honestly think that this may well be the second time I've ever seen it. His presence is certainly missed, which the lads clearly do as well. It is still funnier than I remembered. Obviously, most of the focus is on Mickey, and he's great in this as usual, as are Peter and Davey. There's a load of fun antics revolving around Mickey trying to build up his strength. There's a really funny chase romp too. Wait! My sunny girlfriend is in this? I don't remember this ever appearing on the show. It's one of my favourites. It's written and sung by Mike, and I just love these lyrics. It's chirpy and summery without ringing hollow.
She's my sunny girlfriend and personality. I'm sleeping.
Anyway, the romp is great, using snippets from previous romps without overly relying on them, and we get what I believe I'm right in thinking is the final appearance of the Monkee Men suits. The episode ends with the Rainbow Room video for Lovers Only Sleeping, which I have discussed before. Whilst I love all of their voices, 2 songs with Mike's lead vocals certainly feels like a treat.
Sometimes love is only sleeping.
The simple repeated guitar riff feels hypnotic when accompanied by the harmonies, which bowl me over in this song every time. It's like I can feel them pulling at my heart. Anyway, it's great to see the full video of this. I really like the lacy cuffs on Mike's jacket, and Mickey's mucking around with this bit of equipment like a mad scientist whilst wearing his famous tablecloth poncho, which I wish I had. They made limited edition replicas for the 50th anniversary tour, and I wish I had one so much. I've just realised I've been a Monkees fan for 9 years, and I feel old. I'm putting this one just above Everywhere a Sheik, but below Art for Monkees Sake.
You better make sure you step right on that white line. Why? Because.
The lads accidentally find themselves lost in a quiet town full of hillbillies, who are split into 2 fighting families, the Chubbers and the Westgits. Davy goes for help, only to be jumped by a boy-crazy Chubber girl whose dad is eager to force her into a shotgun wedding. Things get more complicated when her sweetheart turns out to be a Westgit boy. This is one that I revisited the most, as it's one of my favourites. I think it's one of the funniest episodes of the whole show, but I think that this has one of the best scripts, with so many quotable jokes that I'm honestly going to struggle to choose which clips to show in this video.
Do not fight out at each other in anger. Lay down your arms. Pick up your arms and fight for what's yours.
It definitely feels like it was written for this season rather than a leftover script from season 1. It looks like there's definitely some improv here and there, which is always a joy to see. As for the supporting cast, they were great as always, and it's a shame that they weren't invited back for other episodes. I thought that Melody Patterson was great as the flirty Ella May, Dub Taylor was very good as poor Chubber, and Billy Hayes was funny as crotchety old Ma Westgit. I also like Lou Antonio as Judd Westgit, and I love the scene where they try and teach him how to act like a gentleman.
What's this, Judd? That is a fart. What do we do with it? And we eat with it.
The only song we get is the Series 1 song Papa Jean's Blues. It's a country song, and I'm not that into country, so it's one I usually skip when I'm just listening to the Monkees.
No heartache spells, no longer lonely nights of waiting finally won me happiness that's all rolled up in you.
I think it's odd that they went for this instead of What Am I Doing Hanging Round, which is the season 2 country song that was featured in the first episode of this season, but they were broadcast out of shooting order, so it may not have even been recorded yet. Anyway, it has a great romp. I think they may have even repeated a verse to keep it going for longer. I'm guessing that they just had too much great footage to use. Although, as usual, they do include snippets from a previous romp, this one being from the season 1 episode Don't Lick a Gift Horse in the Mouth. They aren't overly reliant on it though, and I think it's probably one of the best romps of the series. I surprisingly don't mind that there's only one song in this episode, or the fact that it's a song that I'm not a big fan of, because the scripts in the romp are just so good. All in all, one of my favourites. It's definitely at the top of my list so far. Also, did Dave get high heels on his shoes? He looks taller to me.
I don't like it. It's too quiet. I don't like it. It's too noisy.
Gullible old Peter yet again falls for a scam. This time, a guy on the street sells him a treasure map in exchange for his guitar. To try and make up their loss, the guys go off to the island in search of the treasure, only to find that they're not the only ones looking for it. Monty Landis returns as the villain. This time, he's Pshaw, an archetypal elderly British explorer. It's no surprise that he once again does a great job. There's also Rupert Cross as his Man Friday parody, Man Thursday. And... oh no, do I have to talk about racism again? To be fair, I think this is more of a parody of a character than a racial stereotype. And studios were at least somewhat aware of the stereotypes of black people in the late 60s, which is reflected in the changes made when adapting Dr. Dolittle in 1967, and the edits made to the re-release of Fantasia in 1969. You see, elderly Americans in my comments? There were people who had a problem with racism in the 60s. Your account of the social-political climate when you were 3 years old isn't accurate, surprisingly. So I don't think this character is racially offensive, I just thought it was something that was worth mentioning. There's also an elderly Tarzan parody called Kimber, played by Burt Mustin, which was pretty funny. By the way, I am a fan of the 1930s Tarzan films, so let me know if you want me to review them in the future in the comments below. By the way, there's a cameo from director James Frawley. He wasn't their only director, but he did direct 28 episodes, around 5 times more than any other director, so he is seen as a big part of the show. I haven't really been paying attention to who wrote or directed the episodes, but he definitely had some good ones under his belt. Anyway, the romp happens after the resolution of the episode, which is an odd choice. Usually, especially in season 2, it is the climax, like a final fight or a chase scene, with maybe a scene or two afterwards as the conclusion. However, the romp itself isn't bad, taking advantage of the island's setting with a few good gags. It's also to Daydream Believer, which is a song I like and one of their most iconic ones. It manages to avoid being saccharine, and it's undoubtedly catchy.
Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it be?
We do get a final tag scene at the end before a music video for What Am I Doing Hanging Round, which I've also discussed before.
What am I doing hanging round?
I'm not a big fan of country, but I always find myself singing along to this one. It's my dad's favourite. It's not a particularly interesting video visually, but the lads themselves do have a bit of fun with it, which is what brings me the most joy. Overall, another pretty average Season 2 episode. The gags and songs are better than most of Season 1, but it's not going to be in my top 10. Don't really have much more to say about it, really. I'm placing this above Everywhere a Sheik, but below I Was a £99 Weakling.
Hey, is your name Peter Tork?
No, it's not.
Okay, sorry to bother you.
It's all right.
Guys are hired to play for a ballet group from a fictional Soviet country during their national tour of Chicken Lake. When the lead ballerina Natasha is sick of her dance partner, she decides to defect to the US by running off with the Monkees. Things are complicated further by her infatuation with Peter. Little does she know that her government is trying to smuggle a top-secret microfilm out of the country in her ballet shoes. They never actually say what is on the microfilm in these things. That's not important. Can the Monkees save her from her fellow countrymen? As you can see, this is another episode without Mike, so this may well be the second time I've ever seen this episode. His absence is felt, but not as much as last time. In fact, I always thought that the actress playing Natasha in this was Lisa James, who played Peter's love interest Valerie in the Season 1 episode One Man Shy, aka Peter and the Debutante. Nope, completely different person. Now that I'm looking at them next to each other, I can see they're clearly different. I don't know why I thought they were the same person. Anyway, Undine Vaughan is great, and she's given more to work with than the average love interest. Actually, we haven't had a lot of love interests in Season 2, which is good because they were very bland in Season 1. They feel like a better fit with the rest of the cast now. Anyway, the rest of the supporting cast is good, particularly Vincent Beck as Natasha's dance partner Ivan, who previously appeared in Son of a Gypsy. There's a few good lines here, as well as some definite signs of improv, which is always fun to see. There's a romp during the ballet scene at the end, which felt odd with the classical music playing over it rather than a Monkees song. I think it would have been better with one. Come to think of it, the only songs we've had in Season 2 are upbeat, unlike the occasional reflective ballads we heard in Series 1. The only one I know of is Daily Lightly, which we haven't come to yet, but that's really trippy, so it has a very different tone to the likes of I Wanna Be Free and Sometime in the Morning. Anyway, the episode ends with a Rainbow Room video. This time, it's for She Hangs Out, a song sung by Davey that they haven't showcased yet. It's not one of my favourites, but I do like it. It's groovy and upbeat. I'm pretty sure the album version added a brass section to this, so it's nice to hear it without it. I think it works better with just the keyboards. The video itself is a lot of fun to watch, with Davey doing his Axl Rose dance, and this bit at the beginning where Mickey and Davey have clearly made each other laugh. All in all, it's another okay episode. Better than the average season 1 episode, but certainly not in my top 10. I'm placing this above the last episode without Mike, I Was a £99 Weakling, but under Art for Monkees Sake, and it's mainly the music that put it under that one.
Please don't kill me, please. Kill me. Kill me some more.
The Monkees get a job in a hotel with a cheapskate owner in a quiet, dusty town. They end up falling for 4 of the guests, 4 tough biker chicks. They try and form their own biker gang in order to impress them, only for their tough biker exes to show up, trying to win them back. This is a pretty fun episode. The gags are pretty good and the lads are on top form as usual. They're clearly more comfortable with fluffing and ad-libbing now.
It says here in the handbook that I have never seen such a turnabout.
As for the supporting cast, the dodgy hotel owner is played by Henry Corden, who I'm sure you'll recognise from his recurring role as their similarly miserly landlord Mr. Babbitt in Season 1. Unsurprisingly, he fits the role like a glove. The only member of the opposing gang with any lines is their leader Butch, played by Norman Grabowski. He's pretty good in the role. The 4 girls are played by Christine Williams, Corinne Cole, Carol Worthington and Ginny Jan, and I think all of them were good with the exception of Williams, whose delivery fell flat for me. They're not as bland as many of the Season 1 love interests, but we don't get to see much of them, so they're not given that much to work with. I don't like how they want to settle down. Like, not that there's anything wrong with wanting that, but it's like, why are they deciding to be ordinary? How dull. Speaking of which, did she get that brush with a dustpan? I only just noticed that funky suitcase that Peter's carrying. The big climax romp is in Motorbike Race to Star Collector, an upbeat keyboard-heavy number sung by Davey about clout-chasing gold diggers. It has a nice bass line and, with many Season 2 songs, its chirpy sound contrasts the slightly adult subject matter of the lyrics.
Yes, she's a star collector.
Like many episodes, this is an alternate take, without the Moog synthesizer solo on the album version, but I'm pretty sure that it shows up later in the series. It's a pretty fun romp with fourth wall gags. It appears to go from a dusty little town to an urban backlot pretty quickly though, but if you're watching the Monkees for continuity, you're watching the wrong show. The episode ends here, but wait! What I hadn't mentioned is that this episode actually started with a music video before the opening credits. This possibly signals a change of direction by putting the music front and centre. That or it's to space the songs out because the only musical romp is at the end of the story. It's a video for Going Down, a humorous song sung by Mickey about no, not that. How can I say this without getting demonetised?
I'm going to end it all!
I have said before that I first got into the Monkees when I was about 17, but what I haven't said was that it was at the time of my life when I struggled most with those kinds of thoughts, and whilst the cheery nature of their work can be partially credited with me getting through that difficult time, it also gave me a pretty dark sense of humour on the subject, which helps too, so weirdly enough, I do feel quite close to this song. Anyway, it tells the story of a heartbroken guy attempting to end it all by jumping into a river whilst drunk, only to end up floating instead. It's a brilliant song that shows off James Brown's influence on Mickey's impressive vocals, as well as his motor mouth.
Coming up for air's pretty stuffy under there. I'd like to say I didn't care, but I forgot to leave a note, and it's so hot to stay afloat, so can't believe they trade this stuff in town. This Johnny Brown.
It is a different vocal take to the single, and, in my opinion, it isn't as good, to the extent that there's a bit where Mickey is slightly quiet, and I wonder if he almost forgot the lyrics there. I'm curious to see which version appeared in later episodes. You can tell me which one you prefer in the comments below. I love Mickey's outfit here and how he's lit and shot here. However, whilst I'm generally in favour of the vibrant Blu-ray restoration, it sadly makes the bit where the instruments look like they were floating look ridiculous by showing the musicians dressed in black with hoods over their heads.
Isn't that dumb?
Anyway, it's one of my favourite songs and videos of Series 2. Overall, this is a pretty good episode with some good tunes. I'm putting this above the card-carrying Red Shoes, but below Art for Monkees Sake, and it's literally because it has slightly better songs.
You've got to be witnesses.
Witnesses to what?
Elma's return from the dead.
Due to some small print in their lease, the Monkees have to let a strange trio into their house whilst they resurrect the corpse of Elma Weatherspoon. These include scientist Henry, his jolly old Aunt Mildred, and his towering cousin Boris. But as Henry is trying to appeal to his aunt's wealth, the monkeys smell a rat. I seem to remember only watching this once or twice, so this was one that I wasn't really interested in revisiting. The gags are good enough, but there were none that really stood out to me, except for this one, which looks like it could have been added on the day from the delivery.
You see, he gives us the pill, and we believe that Elmer came back from the dead. We also see pretty colors and things climbing up the wall.
There's more of those sort of cutaway gags where they wear funny costumes and stuff than usual. The lads were good as always, as are the supporting cast. George Firth was very good as the scumbag scientist.
A mad scientist?
No, but I will be if he keeps making those remarks.
He was so good, in fact, that you might not recognise that he's appeared in the show before as Ronnie, Peter's love rival in the season 1 episode, Peter and the Debutante. It's another brilliant villain performance. Ruth Boozy is clearly much younger than her character, but she does a great job. Mickey Martin's Boris is thankfully not the type of interchangeable big dumb heavy that we've seen in previous episodes and which I've now become sick of, but more of a Frankenstein's creature type muscle who communicates in broad gestures and grunts.
Is everything prepared in the basement, Boris? Don't beat around the bush, yes or no?
They don't say how the Weatherspoons made their fortune, but I'm going to assume it's from serving £2 pints and microwaved gammon. Wait a minute, did Peter just steal that groovy suitcase from the Biker Girls in the previous episode? I love how this time round I can appreciate all of the little details like Peter's groovy necklace. It's weird to think that viewers at the time would never be able to see this much detail. As for the songs, there's a great chase romp to Going Down. And no, it's not about that. Get your mind out of the gutter. It's about trying and failing to end it all!
Then I bet you will get it when you find me in the morning wet and drown.
I've talked about it before as it was featured in the previous episode, so I'll avoid repeating myself, but this song is one of my favourites and it's one of Mickey's best vocal performances. Looks like Mike wasn't there for all of it, but we'll talk about his absences in future episodes. The episode ends with the video for Daydream Believer, which I've also discussed before. It's a good song that just skirts the edge of being saccharine, and it's one of their most popular songs for a reason. This video is a major endorphins boost for me. I love it. So, another average Season 2 episode. It's very close, but I'm putting this below Art for Monkees Sake and above the previous episode, The Wild Monkees, and it's really only the songs and romp that do that. It's getting very close, guys.
Captain Hornblower, man, groovy, sock it to me, yeah.
The Monkees are once again out of work. They think they've got lucky when they get hired to work on a boat, but it turns out they're on a pirate ship. It's down to the lads to try and foil their dastardly plan to hijack a ship full of gold. This is one where Mike is almost entirely absent, so if you've been watching my series for a while, you'll know that this means that I've probably only seen this twice at the most. Whilst the others were because he had an operation on his throat, this was because he very quickly got seasick. Seriously, that wasn't just a joke in the show. I'm guessing they shot the studio scenes afterwards because there were all scenes where Mike could be there because he went below for the rest of the episode, but I guess they just couldn't be asked. Anyway, the other three do a good job without him as always. Again, it's an episode with some pretty good gags, but not as good as some of the other ones. Their Davy Jones locker joke isn't as good as the SpongeBob one.
As in Davy Jones's locker?
Yeah, right. It's his great-great-grandfather, and when he's 25, he inherits the locker.
As for the supporting cast, the only actor of note is the villain of the week, the captain played by Australian actor Chips Rafferty. He's good enough, but he doesn't particularly stand out in the Monkees Rogues gallery. I wouldn't say it's phoned in or anything, but he doesn't chew the scenery as much as nibble it. There's this bit where Peter and Mickey are just singing together where they're below deck and it's really lovely. Director James Frawley was the one who encouraged the guys to do more ad-libbing on sets, and I do wonder if a couple of the gags here were improvised. I can't remember what song this is, so if you know, you can tell me about it in the comments. There's a chase romp to Daydream Believer, which doesn't really suit the scene, but it's an alright romp. The natural light looks really beautiful here. I've talked about this song before, as it's appeared in previous episodes, and it's probably their most famous song after the one from Shrek. It's a good cheery number sung by Davy, but it's on the edge of being saccharine, so I prefer it when it's accompanied by the Rainbow Room video of the guys mucking about. I don't know why, this video is just very important to me. The episode ends with a music video for Star Collector, a jovial keyboard-heavy number sung by Davy about a clout-chasing groupie, which has appeared before in a romp. However, this version has the Moog solo. For those of you who don't know, the Moog synthesizer is one of the first synthesizers, and this song is one of the first to use it. It was owned by Mickey, whose hobby is engineering and physics. This man did a physics degree as a damn hobby. Anyway, it's a massive piece of equipment that made all of these bizarre futuristic sounds. I believe that this is Peter playing it here. Mickey also messed around with it in Daily Nightly, but we'll get round to that when we get round to that. Its addition was sorely missed when it appeared previously. The video is similarly psychedelic, with a bunch of colourful lights flashing on their matching white turtlenecks as they mime with the exception of Mickey, who has a pair of giant drumsticks. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of noise, you may have noticed the blissful silence of this episode. It's the first episode, apart from the behind-the-scenes documentary The Monkees on Tour, without canned laughter. Now, I'm not someone who is automatically opposed to having a laugh track, particularly if, like most British shows with one, it's a real live audience. These days, I see a lot of people online complaining about laughter being canned in shows when it was actually real. It's a real pet peeve of mine. I've seen people complain about it on The Young Ones when they literally showed the audience at least twice in the show. Anyway, there's certainly less of an argument for canned laughter, and if you'll remember, I actually found it quite jarring when I first revisited the series with these reviews. Whilst I do think that the laughter is genuinely quite well edited into the show, it's definitely better without it. Anyway, whilst Mike's absence is felt and there's no standout performances in the supporting cast, this episode is fun, if forgettable. I'm putting this above the card-carrying Red Shoes, but below the Wild Monkees.
Bottom horse, will you, son?
What are you, horse? I'm not a stable boy.
I don't care about your mental condition.
The lads go to visit Mike's Aunt Kate's ranch in Texas, which is also clearly in the 1800s. She and her daughter are being tormented by raids by local bandit Black Bart. Mickey and Peter go to find some hoodlums to defend themselves, but things don't quite go according to plan. This is a fun episode, and despite Peter's Tonto impression dating the show, has some of my favourite gags of the series.
It's crude. Oh. Well, that's okay. Go ahead, tell me anyway.
The lads are great as usual, but sadly there's no scenery-chewing performances in the supporting cast. No one's bad, but there's no one that I really feel like pointing out. Although Len Lesser, who plays one of the thugs, does seem to know what series he's in. Which makes sense considering he also appeared in the Season 1 episode, Monkees in a Ghost Town. I've only just noticed that the flowery blue shirt Peter is wearing here is a variation of the famous Monkees 8-button shirt. We get a little bit of characterisation of Peter as a pacifist rather than just a dimwit, which is refreshing.
Winchester 73.
Colt 45.
Smith & Wesson 38.
Vintage 66.
It's nice to see the real Peter seeping through in Season 2 and making him marginally less one-dimensional, even though this is hardly a show you'd watch for complex characterisation. Davy gets to show off his skills on a horse by pretending he doesn't know how to ride a horse. For those of you who don't know, Davy had left child acting to train as a jockey, but then got cast as the Artful Dodger in the original US run of Oliver. Wait, is that Davy in the bar? Why the hell is he there? Do you just want to get paid for showing up for an extra day or something?
Excuse me, stranger.
Okay, big fella.
They're driving this golf buggy thing in this episode, and is it just me, or have there been hardly any appearances of the Monkee Mobile this season? And I'm pretty sure Mickey was with Samantha Juiced by then, so he definitely would have known that this was swearing over here. There's a fun shootout romp to words, which is a pleasant surprise since it originally appeared in Season 1. It appears that their original producer, Don Kirshner, shelved it, so it didn't appear again until after the studio fired him. It's one of my favourite Season 1 songs. Mickey and Peter's vocals sound beautiful as they duet together in this.
There's no denying love with you, girl, is just like that.
Anyway, this is another episode directed by James Frawley, and I'd say he was particularly good at these romps, as well as including improvised moments and bloopers. Watching this again, I'm pretty sure that the phone came off the wall by accident. What do you think? Oh look, there's Peter's friend Nurit. She was also very good friends with Mike.
Not now, this is a family show.
Anyway, the show doesn't really have a final resolution tag scene. They just reuse crowd footage from the Monkees on tour and a clip of Kate's daughter saying they'll be back from earlier in the episode, showing a further distance from the conventions of the time, before we get a music video for Going Down. Is this a third vocal take, or is this just the same as the other alternative version?
Give you 3 up and down, 9, I'm going down, just one more time, go down.
Anyway, I prefer the version that was released as a single, but this is still a great song with an impressive video, both of which I've discussed in previous videos. It's a sort of James Brown style song that's a tongue-in-cheek track about trying and failing to end it all. And if you find that as funny as I do, I can't give you a hug right now, so here's Peter hugging some puppies. Anyway, despite an uninteresting supporting cast, this is an episode elevated by some above-average gags. I'm putting this below Monkee Mayor, but above Art for Monkees Sake.
You must be joking.
That's my line.
I'm sorry.
You must be joking.
Lads are in Las Vegas, and Mickey has become addicted to girls and gambling. When he accidentally wins at a roulette table rigged by a gang leader, the guys have to infiltrate the gang to clear their names. This is a pretty fun one with more fourth wall gags than usual, especially with the seemingly improvised interjections from Rip Taylor, making his first appearance on the show as the casino manager.
It's my own game. I don't know how he makes these things up. I'm just sick.
He brings a wonderfully manic camp energy to the episode. The police inspector in this is played by Dort Clark, who has appeared in 2 previous episodes as police inspectors. There's no acknowledgement that this is the same character, and he's certainly dodgier here than in his previous appearances. But I like to imagine that he's the same guy, and he's moved from California to Nevada for a quiet life, only for these 4 divs to turn up again.
Remember, if you win more than $1 million, we throw the key away and fill the cell with cement.
Another returning actress is Joy Harmon as Zelda, a pretty gold digger who's interested in Mickey's magic fingers.
Oh, sounds a bit rude.
You may remember her brief appearance as a cashier in the picture frame at the beginning of the season. As for the villains, David Astor is pretty good as the stereotypical crime boss, who does a James Cagney impression of with Mickey.
You're a Yankee Doodle Dandy. You're the rat that killed my brother.
The lads are good as always, although Mike appears to be purposefully half-arsing it for comedic effect here and there.
Well, if we can't find the crooks, maybe we can get the crooks to find us.
You're supposed to arrest the criminal, not the victim.
You know, the one who commits the crime. Sort of irregular tourist activities.
The chase romp is To Door Into Summer, a beautiful song sung by Mike from Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn and Jones. I'm surprised that it hasn't appeared in the show before, actually. It has these lovely folksy fairy tale lyrics with the chimes of what I think is a harpsichord over some beautiful guitar.
And he thought he heard the echoes of a penny whistle band.
This looks pretty sus. The show shows its further disinterest in the sitcom convention of tags by breaking the fourth wall and telling us what they're doing.
Now, the tag we're going to do this week is called Here We Go Again tag.
To think none of this would have happened if Mickey hadn't got the gambling bug.
Boy, but we're sure not going to get involved in that scene again, are we, Mickey?
Never again.
And now you cut back to us. And now you cut back to us. And now you cut back to us, and we're supposed to give a pained look to the camera. Isn't that funny, kids?
We then get a music video for Cuddly Toy, which I have discussed before, so I'll try to avoid repeating myself too much. It was the first major songwriting credit for Harry Nilsson, and it's a chirpy little number where the disdain in the lyrics contrasts with the chirpy sound.
You're not the only cuddly toy that was ever enjoyed by anyone.
I can't remember if this video for the song has appeared on the show before, but I prefer the one they did with Anita Mann. She and Davey had a lot of chemistry. There's also less going on in this video, but I like Davey's dancing and the vaudeville aesthetic that they have here. Finally, we get a blooper reel from a future episode. I love this scene so much.
That's a nice button. What does it say?
Save the Texas pride.
Let's go again.
Leaving the outtakes in was definitely the right decision. The joke itself isn't nearly as funny, and they definitely seem to be rushing the delivery a bit in the final take so that they can get through it without laughing.
Oh, that's a nice thought.
That's a groovy button. What does it say?
Save the Texas prairie chicken.
That...
All It's a pretty good episode. It probably won't make my top 5, but it'll probably make my top 10. I'm putting this below the Monkees in Texas, but above Art for Monkees Sake.
Boys with long hair, girls who shave. The world's gone to pot. No one knows who's who these days.
People have been saying this every 5 minutes for the last 100 years.
Isn't that dumb?
The Monkees are tasked with taking care of a rich young boy whilst his legal guardian, his aunt, goes on holiday over Christmas. They do their best to cheer him up, but as their disastrous attempts to prepare for Christmas wipe their budget, can these 4 big kids make this little humbug in a suit crack a smile?
It will be a lot more exciting if everyone around here didn't act like such kids.
I didn't revisit this episode that often due to the episode's seasonal nature, but it is a great one. This is my first time watching the Blu-ray restoration of this episode, and I know I've sung its praises before on this channel, but wow, they're gorgeous. The episodes, I mean, get your minds out the gutter. I noticed the psychedelic white rabbit artwork in the background this time around. I love that I'm able to appreciate all these little things now, especially with the wonderful clothes they wore in season 2. It's like I'm in the room with them. It's just so visually rich and vibrant. I feel like I could touch that shirt. Although that does mean that I can now see how plastic these leaves here are. Anyway, Butch Patrick is young Melvin here, and he's best known for playing young werewolf Eddie Munster in the 60s horror sitcom The Munsters, as well as Milo in the Phantom toll booth. He does a good job of making the character bitter without also being an unlikable brat.
You're killing yourself over something that doesn't even exist.
If you don't believe in the spirit of Christmas, and it doesn't exist, somebody wants to keep shooting down a bubble, you can't keep it up.
And I'm the one who keeps shooting it down.
I didn't say a word.
He also does a good job of playing a young kid forced to grow up early whilst still seeming like a kid, which is impressive because he was around 14 at the time. What drugs were they giving this boy?
All that would be necessary if I were a child. The fact of the matter is, gentlemen, I'm not.
By the way, I love how eager Davey is to beat the shit out of this kid.
Right. Should I go and beat him up?
Right. No, wait.
As for the rest of the supporting cast, the only really memorable one is Reggie Cordrick as the Doctor, because I was trying to work out what else I'd seen him in, and then I realised that he's in the next episode, which is sort of a Christmas episode to me, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As always, when the Monkees try being sentimental, it works surprisingly well. Like their music, it just manages to avoid coming across as saccharine or insincere. Maybe it's because the young lad's cynicism seems somewhat justified with all the mishaps that they have. I do have to admit that whilst it is fun, the slow-motion dream sequence almost certainly goes on for too long. I did like the soundtrack here too, although I suppose it is quite typical Christmas fare, so I may well be alone in that. After the conclusion of the show, instead of their usual musical romp to one of their pop tracks, we get the guys singing an a cappella version of the traditional Christmas carol, Ryushi. It really is indescribable how hauntingly beautiful it is. I obviously can play very little here, but do check it out and add it to your Christmas playlist. Although my Colombian boyfriend was not impressed with their pronunciation of Spanish. By the way, the Monkees' final album was a Christmas album, 2018's Christmas Party. I totally missed this when it came out, and I still haven't got round to listening to it, so let me know if you'd like to see me make a video on this next year. The most heartwarming moment, however, is the very end when the lads come on out of character to give their Christmas message.
Which is peace and love.
And everything else.
And invite their crew on camera so that they can say hello to their families elsewhere in the country that they won't be able to see that year. Davey introduces them all by name and hugs them, and you can just tell how much fun they're having and how loved everyone is. It's simply adorable. So, whilst it may not have some of the usual reasons why I love episodes of the Monkees, it's an undeniable classic. I'm putting this above Monkee Mayor, but below Monkees in Mexico.
That must be the tall tower where the maiden lies languishing,
Yes, here I am. Languish.
with her spirit unbroken.
Man,
man, you better get me out of here. You're in big trouble.
Set in a fairy tale world of fairies, dragons, and hand-painted sets, Peter is unable to get a job because he spends all day daydreaming about the beautiful Princess Gwen. When he overhears Gwen's fiancé planning to murder her, it's down to Peter to save her. So, as you may have noticed, Michael Nesmith is playing the princess in this, and he is marvellous. He is so iconic in this, it's brilliant.
I will honor your spine with a walk across it. Down, peasant.
My lady.
Harold, you better get this carriage out of the mud.
Boy, I'm sure I'm glad this worked out this way. You know, I could have been wasted.
He was actually the only one not to have cross-dressed before on the show, as the plots where the others did for some disguise or another always had Michael doing something else. I seem to remember that Mike volunteered himself for the role. They weren't even planning on a monkey playing her, I don't think. Mike just knocked it out of the park, and this episode wouldn't be nearly as iconic without him. And I've also designed some Princess Gwen themed merchandise if you need the people in your life to know that they should give you the princess treatment. Or else. However, I mustn't forget that we also got Davy as Gretel and Little Red Riding Hood, and Mickey as Hansel and Goldilocks, who are also really funny.
The 2 bears are chasing me from their house.
2 bears? I thought there were 3 bears.
Yeah, well, a Papa Bear kind of wanted me to hang around.
As for the supporting cast, Gwen's evil fiancé Harold is played by Murray Roman, who really relishes the role. Reggie Cordrick, who appeared briefly in the previous episode, does a great job as the town crier who narrates the story. Diane Chalet is pretty good in her scene as the Fairy of the Locket.
Who called the Fairy of the Locket?
Well, I guess I did.
Well, call back later. I was having my hair done.
I do like the soundtrack in this episode too. La 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 la. If you've seen my previous video, you may remember that I said that I consider this episode to be something of a Christmas episode. This is because in the UK, around December and January, we have the tradition of pantos, which are shows based on fairy tales where men are played by women and women are played by men. There aren't all of the conventions of the genre here, but it's pretty damn close, so it does feel quite seasonal to me. I don't know if the script was written with this cheap theatrical approach to the production design in mind, but it was definitely the right move. Speaking of which, after I had waxed lyrical about the amount of detail I could now see in this restoration in my previous video, I wasn't expecting to notice anything new about this one because the set is so simplistic, but to my surprise, I noticed that Peter has this cute little elephant pendant on, and that the magic locket has this badge with a horse rider in the middle. It just looked like nondescript dull silver to me before. After the story, there's this nice little interview clip with the guys. We don't get as many in this season, so it's nice to see it here.
How did you feel about dressing up as a princess?
Well, I fail to recognize that I really did that, you know.
Why, Michael?
Yeah, I refuse to accept that fact.
They just briefly talk about the episode and the characters they dressed up as before we get a video for Daily Nightly. Ooh, I've been waiting to talk about this one. This is a psychedelic song Mike wrote about witnessing the Sunset Strip curfew riots, which they talked very frankly about in an interview clip the year before.
Lost in scenes of smoke-filled dreams, find questions but no answer.
It's accompanied by Mickey freaking out on the Moog synthesizer, which I've talked about before because it was also used on Star Collector, in which I believe Peter played a far more conventional solo. It was one of the first synthesizers, and Mickey, being both a musician and a massive physics and engineering nerd, was one of the first to own one. It makes this song seem even more strange and dreamlike over the rest of the instruments, which are playing something far more simple and structured. This is a great video. Mickey is really getting into it, Davy and Peter are messing about, and Mike is looking stoic holding onto this stepladder, desperately trying not to look high. Despite it obviously being a very psychedelic song, they made the interesting move of shooting this in black and white. I guess they trusted a lot of their adult following to just add the colours themselves. When I was in the midst of my Monkees hyperfixation, I watched this episode whenever I was feeling down. As I've touched on before, I originally got into the Monkees during the darkest period of my life mentally and emotionally, so as you can imagine, I've seen this episode a lot. I pretty much know it by memory, delivery and all. Does it have the best gags? Probably not. Is it at the top of my list? Abso-f***lutely.
Don't tear out that cat's head again, I can't stand it.
Mickey is kidnapped and gets swapped with an android by a pair of evil aliens. He looks identical to Mickey, except his feet are on backwards.
My feet aren't on backwards, yours are.
It's up to Peter and Davy to try and get him back. This episode doesn't have Mike apart from his opening appearance, which we'll get to later. And whilst I'd say that episodes always suffer when they're one monkey short, this is by far the best Three Monkey episode. It's almost certainly Mickey's best performance as the confused android. He's really in his element here, although he is of course assisted by some great sound effect work. Here he is trying to trash up the world's grooviest fridge. Ooh, that's a nice moon chair. About 10% of these reviews now is me looking at nice furniture in the background of the HD remaster, and another 10% is me admiring Peter's clothes. Although it's clearly an earlier episode because they're wearing more mod clothes here. I can even see the top of the pad set. Anyway, the aliens here were played by Nita Talbot and Stuart Margolin, the latter of which would go on to play Angel in the Rockford Files. They both give great hammy performances. They really understood the assignment here. Clark Gordon is pretty good as a confused old military officer too. As always, the series was filmed out of broadcast order, and I imagine they wanted to spread out the episodes without Mike. As I've said in previous videos, I believe I'm right in thinking that this was because of an operation of his throat at the time. There is a laugh track here, which had been dropped for the past few episodes. I don't know if it's just me, but they seem to be making the laughter quieter than usual, which helps it feel marginally less out of place with the drier humour of this episode. As for the actual humour, I'd forgotten that this is one of the most political episodes of the show. This episode is presented with the framing device, introduced by Mike, of a public information film about aliens, presented by comedian Pat Paulson. His deadpan delivery of the anti-authoritarian satire is probably the best part of this episode. You can definitely tell that this was made during the Vietnam War.
They want to put the blame on teenagers. Take the war, for example. Whose fault is it? Certainly not our fault. We're not fighting. It must be those crazy kids.
It's probably what makes the episode feel shorter than usual too, although I do think it overstays its welcome slightly by the end. It's probably one of the most meta episodes as well, with clever editing of clips from previous episodes.
This poor American teenage millionaire. Vague longings awakening in his body, the long, vague awakenings of his mind.
The chase romp in the spaceship is to Star Collector, which is a song I've discussed before in this series, so I'll try and be brief. The chirpy keyboards and the futuristic synthesizer really work well in this scene. All in all, this is a surprisingly good episode. It's Mickey's performance and the political satire that really elevate it. I'm putting this above Art for Monkees' Sake, but below Monkees in Texas.
We can't leave now, man. We haven't found Davy.
We can form a trio.
No. Come on, let's go look in the library.
Peter, he's gone. Maybe we make it a duet?
No.
If you get lost, I'll be a single.
This is the order in which they died. I am still not over this. Davy goes on a date with a beautiful vampire. When he doesn't come back from her stock footage castle, the same one that was in Monkey See, Monkey Die in Season 1, it's up to Peter, Mike and Mickey to track him down. However, the vampire and her uncle have other plans for the lads. This is a great one. When I was in my Monkees phase at uni, this is the episode that I would show to people to get them into this 50-year-old kids show. No, I didn't make a lot of friends. Why do you ask? Arlene Martel, who previously played a Russian spy in Season 1's The Spy Who Came In From the Cool, really understood the assignment here once again as a seductive villain.
What a kiss. I've never felt this way before.
You fool, it is not my kiss, but the magic necklace.
What a necklace. I've never felt this way before.
She really stood out in Season 1, as a lot of the female roles were bland blonde love interests. I will admit that this has changed in Season 2, as there are fewer love interest-centred episodes, and the love interests that we do get are either broad or at least more interesting than the typical girl next door. Anyway, Martel shines here. That and I love the name Lorelei, and her hip 60s vampire outfit. Ron Massac is great in it too as the Count. Like the best villains in the show, he's clearly having a lot of fun here.
Here we are in my beautiful laboratory, in my beautiful castle, in the dungeon with a beautiful fake backdrop.
Regular bit player David Pearl also does a pretty good job as the Wolfman here. As for the comedy, there's more fourth wall jokes and some fun bits of rapid fire editing. along with the typical funny lines.
You ought to get a haircut, they won't let you in Disneyland.
There's even an outtake that's used in the middle of the scene.
That was my medium scare.
Oh, do another one.
Would you like a long one?
A smaller.
Smaller one?
Yeah. Good.
Speaking of outtakes, there's a gag reel for this episode that was used at the end of Monkees on the Wheel.
Save the Texas.
Let's go again.
Anyway, all of the lads are on top form here, really leaning into the goofiness of these later episodes. Mike's performance stands out in particular. He doesn't always give 100%, but he's clearly having fun here.
Where is the mummy man?
Here I am, Mummy Man.
Ooh, wow. Is it scary down here?
Watch this.
Mummy!
See that? Mummy.
This was directed by series regular James Frawley, and he often seemed to get the best out of them. As for the musical sequence, there's a chase romp to Going Down.
I don't want no more going down.
Wow, I didn't realise how frequently this song appeared in Season 2. I just had to check my script to see if it's appeared more times than Daydream Believer. It hasn't, by the way. Anyway, I'll try and avoid repeating myself, but it's a great song. And it's probably the best display of Mickey's insane vocal range. As for the romp itself, it's very good, with the usual range of silly sight gags. They ended with some Season 1 romp footage, which does stick out because their personal styles were so different by then, but it's nice footage and it works surprisingly well. All in all, this is a great episode, and a good one to watch around Halloween. It has everything I love about the late Season 2 episodes of this show. I'm putting this one under Fairy Tale, but just above Hillbilly Honeymoon.
Gotta talk in 12 hours.
Well, then it's simple. All we do is teach him to talk.
How?
What did you say?
How?
The Monkees are hired for a residency at a new venue. However, their new boss is a nightmare, and their hiring means that his previous act, Mendrak the Magician, loses his job. They take pity on him, and Mickey offers to buy his Monkees Paw. As Mendrak's luck suddenly changes for the better, the wishes Mickey makes on the Monkees Paw are not only nothing but trouble, but they may well bring an end to the act altogether.
You haven't talked about anything but that paw since you've had it, man. Not a thing.
Yeah, I know, I'm really hung up on it, man. I wish I could stop talking about it.
This is another fun late Season 2 episode, with some great guest performances. First off, there's Hans Conried as the pathetic Mendrak, who is also the voice of Captain Hook in Disney's Peter Pan. Then there's Henry Beckman as the mean manager, who's also great. There's also a pretty funny scene with the mental problems specialist, played by Seven Darden. Finally, there's Mary Ashley as Mendrak's daughter. She's nothing to write home about. It's just another pretty young straight woman role, but she's not in the episode very much. The guys are great as usual. Mickey's is probably the standout performance in this episode, though. There's a great segment where Mendrak tells a story of how he bought the Monkees Paw from a llama in the Tibetan mountains, where Mendrak is played by Mickey and the llama is played by Mike. They keep a blooper in.
Over the valley, I walked for 10,000 miles through burning sands and deserts. Sands and deserts.
And it has one of my favourite mature jokes of the series. Well, the mature jokes are always my favourite.
I came all this way to find the High Lama.
Oh, well, I'm afraid you're out of luck. He's out back sleeping it off.
You don't mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's how he got his name.
I suppose this is a pretty grown-up joke, too.
I don't think we're on the right track.
I don't see why not. It works in police stations all over the world.
There's also a wonderful moment where they leave a blooper in, and Davy has clearly had too much Frodis. It was directed by James Frawley, who often had fun with the editing, such as leaving in outtakes in these later episodes. There's also a great bit where they work Mickey's silence into the act with a tribute to the Marx Brothers, who were a massive influence on the writing of this series.
You know, it's not commercial. I wouldn't buy the act. I wouldn't buy it.
You're right. There's no audience identification.
Once again, there's some wonderful clothes in this episode, including a lovely orange tie on Mike, some great Nehru jackets on Davy, and I just want everything Peter is wearing. There's a great romp to words. It's a great duet sung by Peter and Mickey, which was originally recorded for Season 1, before presumably being shelved by Don Kirshner for not being commercial and cookie-cutter enough.
To stop, but there's no denying. Love with you, girl, is just like dying.
It's a beautiful song that suits the romp really well.
But all I can hear are the words that never were true, spoken to her.
Instead of being a chase romp, which they've pretty much all been in this season, it's showing off a series of magic tricks to the manager to try and trick him into buying the Monkees Paw. There's so many jump cuts here, I'm almost expecting Randall and Hopkirk to turn up. They also reuse some footage of Peter doing magic tricks from the talent show in the Season 1 episode Davy and Fern, which, if you'll remember, is one of my least favourite episodes. For clarification, I don't want to wear that fake beard. They also play some of Going Down when they're supposed to be playing, but I've talked about that song often enough in this season, so I'm going to skip it here. The episode ends with a fourth wall break before we get a brief outtake from earlier in the episode.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, wait, the monkey.
I hate these kids.
We then get a brief interview segment.
The hippie movement is dead. It was buried in San Francisco and has been replaced by free men.
You get less of these in season 2, and they tend to be too brief. But it's nice to see one where they're as honest as ever about what's going on in the world.
Every time that, the hippies come up with something really vital and intelligent and interesting, the establishment will take it over and put down the people who originated it.
Here, Peter's decrying the commercialisation of the hippie movement. As usual, he's incredibly eloquent, and it's a shame that this interview is so short.
Yeah, very psychedelic ads.
Turn on with this. Now, what is this turn on? They're taking over.
All in all, this is another great season 2 episodes. I'm putting it below Monstrous Monkee Mash and above Hillbilly Honeymoon.
I have a million things to do. Couldn't it be tomorrow?
Oh, I remember reading in the paper where, due to a lack of interest, tomorrow was canceled.
Due to lack of interest, tomorrow is cancelled.
Well, I guess that means that the Kaiser Chiefs are Monkees fans too. Peter sees a harp in a pawn shop and instantly falls in love with it. The shop's mysterious owner, Mr. Zero, offers the harp and the ability to play it to Peter with a buy now, pay later contract. The harp unexpectedly makes the Monkees an overnight success, but little does Peter know that Mr. Zero is actually the devil, that he has sold him his soul.
He really is the devil. Devil or not, he's a rotten house guest.
It's up to Mickey, Davey and Mike to take Mr. Zero to court to try and get him out of it. This feels like an early season 2 episode, but it's actually one of my favourites. The main way that you can tell it's an early season 2 episode is that the lads still have that Californian mod look, rather than the more far out and individual styles that they had later on. There's also a laugh track, which had been dropped for earlier episodes. Whilst I believe that a few episodes were delayed so that they could spread out the episodes without Mike, I've heard mixed things as to why this was delayed. If I remember rightly, the rumour was that they got into trouble with censors for making fun of the fact that they couldn't say hell on television, even when they were literally talking about the place.
It's pretty scary. You know what's even more scary?
What?
You can't say on television.
The actual reason was that they got into trouble with them for the subject matter of the song used in the romp scene, Salesman, because of what is implied to be selling.
It's high. It's sitting so high. Salesman with your secret goods that you push while you talk. It's high, high.
Let me know if I've got that the wrong way around in the comments, Monkey Maniacs. As for the plot, this is of course another version of the Faust legend, which I'm a big fan of, as you can tell from the fact that I've made 2 videos on Bedazzled. We get another great Monty Landers villain performance as Mr. Zero, and this has to be my favourite. He's not buried under silly costumes or makeup, and yet he's great, being comical while still being a genuine threat. He displays his magic using jump cuts, like an evil Marty Hopkirk. It's a very simple effect and it's very obvious, but I still think it works pretty well. I do like that the colour of the backdrop outside changes when he appears. I'd never noticed that. The supporting cast in the courtroom were pretty good too, including Lee Kalima, who also appeared in the season 1 episode The Spy Who Came In From the Cool. Okay, you know what I'm going to say by now. I don't recommend showing this episode to younger kids. If you have a problem with me saying that, boomer from the US commenting with their full legal name, then go and complain about the price of eggs or something. There's a fantasy romp where the lads imagine hell, which, like the previous episode's romp, is a nice change from the chase romps that have dominated this season. I think they do a pretty good job with the set and costumes here, and director James Frawley is having a lot of fun with the rapid-fire editing, making it one of the best romps in the series. The song, the aforementioned Salesman, is a cool but bouncy track sung by Mike.
Short lifespan, the whole thing's grand.
It also intercuts with some Rainbow Room footage of himself, Peter and Davey. It's so brief that there's little point, but it's a great video, so I'm not going to complain. I will take the opportunity to mention that there are harp covers of Pleasant Valley Sunday and I Wanna Be Free. We don't really get to hear the former that well due to the sound effects, but the latter is particularly beautiful. watching these reviews for a while, then you know that I prefer the later episodes in Season 2. Whilst it's always been a rather silly family show that's no stranger to fourth wall gags, they're weirder and looser and sillier, with goofier performances and a more tongue-in-cheek sense of humour. What is lost in these later episodes is the sincerity, and that's certainly what we get in the ending here. Mike argues that the devil didn't give Peter anything because Peter's love of the harp meant that he was always able to play it, which neglects the fact that, you know, he also gave him the harp. Anyway, as I've discussed before, the few times where the Monkees try to pull on the viewer's heartstrings work surprisingly well, narrowly avoiding being saccharine or soppy. A big part of that has always been Michael Nesmith's performance, and this episode is certainly the best example of that.
You see, Peter loved the harp, and he loved the music that came from the harp. The power of that love was inside of Peter, and it was that kind of power that made Peter able to play the harp.
He delivers this line with such conviction that he impressively pulls off an argument that's quite silly and sentimental in theory. Obviously, this scene was written by the writers, but it was directed by James Frawley, who let them improvise and experiment at times, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case here from the delivery.
Don't you understand what that means when you have that inside of you? People say, well, I can't carry a note. I can't sing. I'm tone deaf. But nobody's tone deaf because, baby, in the final analysis, love is power. That's where the power's at. And you want to tell me that you gave it to him, but I know different because I'm a musician.
Whether they're his words or not, he's fantastic and it's one of the best performances in the show, full stop. I always knew that this episode was good, but I'm surprised by just how good it is every time. Speaking of Peter, I've made a series of Monkees-themed merchandise with my favourite Peter Tork lyric, Love is Understanding, from the Season 2 closing theme, For Pete's Sake. Let me know if you'd like me to design any other Monkees-themed merch in the comments. The episode ends with a Rainbow Room video for No Time, which I'm surprised has only appeared on the show once so far. It's a fast-paced throwback to 50s rock and roll, and the video for it is a lot of fun. Mike is so me in this video. They all look like they're having a great time, and it's infectious. And it wouldn't be a Season 2 review at this point if I didn't go out of my way to compliment their clothes. I like all of them, but Mike's cherry red trousers stood out to me this particular time round. This is a brilliant episode. It's definitely in my top 5, but it will be really hard to place when I do my final ranking because it's so different from the others I have up there. To my surprise, I'm putting this in second place, above Monstrous Monkey Mash, but just under Fairy Tale.
So, Crumpets, I see you're having some trouble with your car.
I see you're having some trouble with your accent.
A family friend asks Davy and the lads for help with his race car. I guess that's where the phone in the direct line ads is from. They discover that he is being sabotaged by the evil German Baron von Klutz, who hopes to use the race to promote his Klutzmobile. When he kidnaps their driver, it's up to the lads to save the race.
Solitary confinement, starvation. Nothing you can do to me will make me help you with your plan.
What about physical torture?
You got yourself a mechanic.
This episode isn't terrible, but I'd say it's relatively underwhelming for a late Season 2 episode. I mean, I don't think you can really get away with the "you're standing on my foot" gag unless you are Laurel and Hardy. So I wasn't thrilled to see it 3 times in the first 6 minutes of the episode. The bit where they complain about the gun seems like an addition to the script, which I liked, partially because it reminded me of Head, and partially because it's bad enough that we have a tuning fork got a little chuckle out of me. Is it just me, or does it look like Mickey was filmed separately from the rest of them? I mean, he does get kidnapped, but he arrives late for no explained reason, and he doesn't share a shot with the other Monkees in their first scene together. Anyway, German actor David Hurst does a great job as the cartoony Red Baron-style villain, proving that you could never trust someone wearing an iron cross unless they're Lemmy Kilminster.
The name Klutzmobile will be known throughout this country and tomorrow the world!
Stubby K also turns in a decent performance as his accomplice Wolfgang, whilst William Glover is also pretty good as British racing driver Tian Crumpets. But he's just a straight man, really.
Gag him. There's enough gags in this show already.
The race itself is very underwhelming and feels like it should be a romp. This series has already had at least 2 race romps. The generic 60s music here just feels like this scene could have been from any other show at the time. dull, and it's not always clear what's happening when they hurl obstacles at each other Mario Kart style. It feels like this should have been intercut with a romp we get later of Peter and Mike trying to rescue Mickey, but was shown separately, probably to stop the episode from being too short. I would have preferred an interview or a Rainbow Room video to this. The episode does end with a pretty good romp to What Am I Doing Hanging Round, a country song sung by Mike that was featured pretty heavily earlier in the season. It's my dad's favourite Monkee song, and I do love Mike's vocals in this.
What am I doing hanging round? I should be on that train and gone.
As for the romp itself, it's the usual chase romp with sped up running, sight gags, and...
Good Lord, what is happening in there?
They appear to placate the villains by... making them hippies, I guess? That's a nice change. There's a cameo from series co-producer and co-creator Bob Rafelson, seen here trying to make Mike laugh by copying his party trick of eating flowers. As for the lads' clothes, they're sadly covered by overalls for most of the show, but they aren't all that exciting anyway. All in all, this has some decent guest performances, but it's a rather dull episode that's sparser than usual when it comes to good gags. I'm putting this one below the Wild Monkees, but above the card-carrying red shoes.
How do I know what to put on the air? Put on a half hour of commercials like the Johnny Carson show. Or better yet, why don't you put on another Monkee segment? I mean, they're all the same.
The Monkees are told that they have to return the secret microfilm to Soviet agents. If this plot sounds derivative to you, it's derivative to the Monkees themselves, who are interrupted by regular director James Frawley. They complain that the episodes are too similar each week and tell Jim that they are going to Paris whilst he sorts everything out. What follows is 20 minutes of silent footage of the Monkees in Paris, with both their songs and their regular soundtrack playing over the top of it. This was directed by series co-creator Bob Rafelson, who'd also directed 5 episodes of Series 1 and went on to direct their lucid nightmare of a feature film, Head. Don't worry, I mean lucid nightmare as a compliment. One of said episodes was Monkees on Tour, which is a little documentary filming a day in the life of the Monkees on the day of a concert. This is probably what it's closest to, although it's still very different. This offers no insight into the Monkees themselves, nor does it have Davy being chased by a swan.
You ain't got no wings, you chicken. I've met your type before.
The restoration of this episode is particularly impressive, because the version that was released on DVD was in a terrible state. I think they must have discovered a new print of it or something. The difference is night and day, although weirdly you can see the old print for a few frames at the very beginning and very end of the first scene. The episode was originally supposed to be filmed in London, but if you know anything about the Monkees' time in London, that you know that they were far too popular there for that to be possible, so they went to Paris instead. As for the main body of the episode itself, it's good, even if I think it overstays its welcome a little by the end. The plot is that the Monkees are being chased by girls, and then they like the girls, and then they're running away from them again. However, this episode is more about atmosphere than plot, as we watch the lads cause havoc in Paris markets on their mini motorbikes, bemusing local bystanders. I think that the freeze frames of the fans towards the beginning are really corny. There are sound effects in the show, particularly towards the beginning, but I'm pretty certain none of it was recorded whilst filming. I'm guessing they just stuck to cameras rather than recording any sound so that they could keep it simple. It's so interesting to see the Monkees being chased around somewhere real, surrounded by real people. Pretty much the entire show is filmed on either a set or a backlot. Needless to say, there's some lovely shots of Paris in it. I love Peter's impression of Mickey Mouse and Fantasia here. Now for the songs! First off, it's Love Is Only Sleeping, a beautiful song sung by Mike that bowls me over every time I hear it, with beautiful harmonies over a simple guitar riff.
She said
I adore it. This is played whilst they are being chased in the meat market towards the beginning. Next, there's a song that isn't played again in the entire series. Don't Call On Me is a beautiful and very chill song also sung by Mike. I think it might have a slight bossa nova thing going on with it over the chill keyboard chords, but I don't really know much about genres.
Don't call on me when you're feeling footloose.
They split the song into 2 throughout the episode, which is good because otherwise the low energy would have been too much. These jeeps look pretty. The first segment where they're strolling through the park with the girls reminded me of the As We Go Along sequence in their film Head, where they are strolling through different natural environments. The opening also reminded me of Head, as it is, of course, about their discontent with the restrictive nature of the show.
You see one monkey episode, you see all the monkey episodes, man.
You're not being fair.
Out of a possible 11 shows.
There's always a tall heavy and a small heavy.
Man.
Anyway, then it's Star Collector, a chirpy keyboard song with a futuristic Moog synth solo as the Monkees cause havoc in yet another market. Finally, there's another Chaser Going Down, which is a sort of James Brown-style number sung by Mickey. They play it in full, which is nice because it's often cut down for romps. I like that they suddenly have a silent moment where Davy and Mickey walk through the cemetery before the song abruptly continues. As usual, they have some fun with the editing in this episode, but I'm not a fan of the bit in Going Down where they use stills, as it just slows the whole thing down. They've done a pretty good job scoring the rest of the episode too. As for the outfits, there are some good ones. They wear some more beige clothes towards the beginning, but they still look great and it contrasts well with the clothes that we see them wearing during the episode. I'm pretty sure that they're just wearing their own clothes here. We get Davy dressed as somewhere between a gendarme and the Artful Dodger. That is right, Oliver. You've got to pick a pocket or deux. Mickey's also got this nice flowery shirt and these Native American inspired beads. I also really love this pink dress that Peter's girl is wearing. And yes, I'm calling her Peter's girl because she isn't credited. In fact, fansite Sunshine Factory, where I get all of my screenshots for thumbnails, has only managed to find the names of 2 of them and hasn't found the name of the actor who played the agent from the opening, who wasn't credited despite having several lines.
And this time, instead of coming in and asking for the microfilm, you ask for the secret apple.
So what's the difference in the script?
Don't get smart.
I'd recommend this site to Monkees fans, by the way. It's helped me greatly in the making of these reviews. James Frawley unsurprisingly does a good job playing himself. They cut back to him trying to fix the show a couple of times throughout the episode. Ooh, even his clothes are nice. 2 of the gendarmes here are played by regular extra/bit player David Price, who had his biggest role in The Prince and the Paupers, and Bill Chadwick, who was in the running for one of the leads in the show, having done a screen test with Mike and Davey. All in all, whilst not as insightful as the Monkees on tour, it does its own thing, and it's a nice little atmospheric palate cleanser. Like Monkees on tour, it's really hard to rank this against the others because it's so different. I think I'm going to put this under Monkees in Texas, but above the Monkees Watch Their Feet.
As long as the radio's full, that's all that matters.
Davy inherits a country estate in England from a crazy old rich lord. The catch is that he has to live there for 5 years in order to inherit it. It can be sold to the villagers for £50,000, but they don't have that kind of money, and if they don't manage to raise it in time, then the estate will be inherited by Lance the Kibby the Sot, who will sell the village to be made into a development. This episode was actually directed by Peter Tork, credited here using his full surname, Torkelson. It's particularly interesting, considering that he probably had the least to do with TV production going forward than the rest of them. Mickey directed a lot in the 80s, Michael directed and set up his own production company, and Davey didn't do anything like that, I don't think, but he didn't leave the industry in the 70s like Peter did either. I seem to remember hearing at some point that this was a leftover script from Series 1, and that he and his brother reworked it slightly, which is the norm to do uncredited. It's probably a surprise that he ended up making an episode somewhere in the middle. Not uniquely bizarre like the episode Mickey would direct, nor as cookie cutter as some of their earlier episodes, but somewhere in between. The pacing of the editing seems slightly off to me in a couple of moments, which is very important in comedy, and the main conflict is exposited twice in 2 back-to-back scenes. It looks like he did have some fun with the editing in terms of stock footage and sound effects at least. The main strength of the episode is the guest cast. Laurie Main does a good job as the nervous but kindly innkeeper Mr. Fryer. Jack Good not only gave a very funny cartoonishly drunken performance as Lance Kibby the Sot, but went on to produce the Monkees' notorious 1968 Christmas special, 33 1/3 revolutions per monkey. Yeah, I'll cover that at some point. I'm guessing that they were telling the truth about the prop man playing the customs officer.
Look, sweetie, I might be Jack Williams, the property man to you, but to 20 million teenagers, I'm the customs man.
Bernard Fox does a pretty good job as the villainous Sir Twiggly Top and Middlebottom, although he's more of a competent straight man villain. Reginald Gardinier does a good job in his small role as the comically short-sighted butler, who looks so much like Alfred from the Burton Schumacher Batman films that I had to double-check it wasn't him. Whilst Myra de Groot is alright as the innkeeper's daughter Mary, although her voice is a tad grating. It's not a bad accent though, as the actress herself is British.
But the villagers don't have that kind of money, and if the boys leave, the villagers will lose their homes.
Speaking of accents, I can't tell whether David Pearl is doing Cockney or Irish here.
So where do you want the lamps, Governor?
The lads are good as usual. Obviously, Davy's the one with the biggest role. In terms of their clothes, I like Davy's Nehru jacket and stripy trousers combo, and Peter's beads. I think they're all dressed pretty well in this one. That's just what stands out the most. When we do see the village in the medieval fair scene, they seem to have shot it almost entirely at this angle, where half of it is this wooded area with this house with Tudor beams, which looks appropriate, whilst the other half is terraced housing? This is almost certainly because Peter was working within the confines of the available backlots, where pretty much all Monkee exteriors were filmed. But couldn't they nudge the camera left a bit? We get to hear the soundtrack of Fairy Tale during the duel scene, which is great because I love that music.
Go back in there and get him, son!
Speaking of music, the only song we get in the story segment of this episode is Davy singing a beautiful rendition of Greensleeves during the singing competition at the fair.
Alas, my love, you do me wrong.
The episode ends with a fourth wall breaking tag scene before we get a music video for Star Collector, which has been featured in the show before. I think it's been cut down slightly here at the very end. It's a song with a chirpy, futuristic sound, accompanied by the Monkees miming without instruments in white polo necks, surrounded by psychedelic lighting.
Yes, she's a star.
I do like this one, but I've talked about it a lot before, so I'm just going to give a shout out to Peter's hip wiggle. That's all. All in all, this episode is decent. It's nothing extraordinary, but it's certainly a good time. I'm certainly glad that Peter had the opportunity to make it. I'm putting this one above the Monkees Watch Their Feet, but under Monkees in Paris.
Hi there, honey. What you doing for dinner?
As usual, the lads are strapped for cash, so they enter a TV band competition. The problem is that it's only for mixed groups, so one of them is going to have to dress as a girl. They choose Davy for obvious reasons, but little do they know that a competing girl band has the same idea. As the two cross-dressers fall in love at first sight, and the competition's host has the hots for him, will they be able to keep Davy's secret? If that sounds like an interesting plot, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It has its better moments, but on the whole, this is a bloated and bland episode. The main problem is the music scenes. When the girl band auditions, they play the season 1 song Last Train to Clarksville, sped up to give them high-pitched voices.
Take the last train to Clarksville and I'll meet you at the station.
This is a good idea, and it's funny at first. But then they play it all the way through, and saying it wears thin quickly is the understatement of the year. It should have been much quicker. There's maybe 1 or 2 lines from the guys, and they try to have a little fun with the editing, but the shots themselves are pretty bland. It really should have been half as long. Immediately after that, we get the Monkees performing a much better song that isn't sped up. However, whilst it's not as boring and the guys aren't bad at physical comedy, it's still pretty dull, at least by Monkee standards. It's just Davy trying to run off stage and the others trying to keep him on, with the host occasionally telling us what we've just seen as he ogles Davy.
He's trying to get off stage. So maybe next... Oh, get her back on stage immediately! I like the arm around her neck.
It just needs to cut to something else now and again, like some kind of montage. Even just occasionally cutting to Rainbow Room footage would have been an improvement. By the way, the song itself is Door into Summer, a beautiful, slightly folksy song with a lovely light guitar riff over Peter's harpsichord and slightly fairy tale lyrics.
And he thought he heard the
Sheik's voice sounds beautiful in this one too. The final song at the end of the story at least has some fun angled shots, and the guys look like they're having more fun. In this part of the story, the two bands have formed a supergroup, and what role do the girls have in this new band? Dancers. They're just dancing. Like, not even like professional dancers, they're just ordinary girls, casually, slightly uncomfortably dancing on podiums whilst wearing Tina Turner dresses. Even without these bloated bits, the script seems below the usual standard. The show's never been the height of wit, but there are usually some better gags. I don't usually check these things, but this is the only time that these writers have written for the show. It looks like James Frawley may have encouraged them to improvise a bit, and, as usual, brings out the best of the lads, but it can't quite salvage it. It's interesting that out of all 58 of the episodes that they could have chosen to post on YouTube in full to promote the 50th anniversary restoration Blu-ray box set, they chose a really bland episode from each season. I'm guessing they wanted to show off the quality of the restoration work without giving anyone their favourite episode for free. But it's a shame that anyone interested in the show would have this as their only introduction. Anyway, that last song is She Hangs Out, a great number sung by Davey where he's basically singing, I hope your sister's legal because I'm gonna... That whole album is pretty solid actually. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn and Jones is probably my favourite out of the albums released during the show. As for the guest cast, Dina Martin, daughter of famous Rat Pack crooner and unimaginative namer Dean Martin, is alright as Daphne, presumably named after the character from Some Like It Hot. However, she's given very little to do, even for a love interest. Jerry Blavat does a great job playing himself, a girl-crazy radio host.
Never in my life have I, the geeter with the heater, snapped over a fox such as you. You are devastating. It must be the mini. It must be something.
I think he's kind of cute.
You would.
I never would have known that he wasn't an actor. He gives a broad performance, which fits perfectly. In the Monkees, more is more. The best part of the episode is its tag scene. In Season 2, each of the Monkees were offered the opportunity to bring a guest onto the show. The only one who didn't end up doing it was Peter, who was planning on bringing his friend Janis Joplin, but for some reason it never happened. It was probably where the guys' request to do a more variety-style show for the cancelled third season came from, but I'm guessing ahead of myself. Davey invited his friend and songwriting collaborator Charlie Smalls onto the show, who would later go on to write The Wiz. He compares the differences in rhythm between white and black music of the time.
1 and 3 is white soul, right?
Right.
And
exactly.
the 2 and 4 is the Motown.
It's Motown Soul Brothers, so, give us some 5 over here.
I think it's important to think of this in the historical context in which this happened. This was March 1968. Martin Luther King was assassinated a month later. Interracial marriage was decriminalised nationally the year before. 2 years later, Sesame Street was vetoed from state education TV in Mississippi by a state commission because, and I quote, some of the members of the commission were very much opposed to the showing of the series because it uses a highly integrated cast of children, and felt that Mississippi was not yet ready for it. I know that these glimpses of historical evidence are only a fraction of the complex history of race in the late 60s, but it's important to remember when you are watching this benign interaction, two friends laughing as they share the knowledge and joy of music, that this would have been seen as against the grain to many in the country. I'd also like to take this opportunity to bring up that I forgot to mention that their Christmas message of peace was not apolitical, as this was the era in which 300,000 men had been refused conscientious objection status, especially coming from 4 young men who had narrowly missed the draft themselves, but that's a story for another day. I'll make sure I cover Head at some point too. Anyway, this is really wholesome and I love it. He said that he was a friend of his from New York, so I wonder if they'd known each other for years at that point. I'm not caught up in the discography. Anyone know if they ever recorded this? All in all, despite a great interview tag and a decent supporting cast, Some Like It Lukewarm is... well, lukewarm. I'm placing this above the picture frame, but below everywhere a Sheik. It's literally just the interview that's keeping it from going to the bottom.
They have a lot of zany stuff on this program, don't you think?
Peter has to write a song for the band's audition for a 10-week residency at a local club. Why would you write a new song for an audition? Why wouldn't you play what you know works? Anyway, he's got writer's block, so he goes to a mentalist for help. However, he drugs Peter in order to win the residency himself.
I think he's out of it.
Oh, I don't know, his crisp, penetrating intelligence is still there.
It's up to Mickey, Mike and Davey to try and break the spell, or sober Peter up, before he permanently becomes a part of the Great Oraculo's act. This is a good episode that feels slightly in the middle. It doesn't reach for the heights of this season, but it doesn't have the same pitfalls either. The Great Oraculo is played here by Monty Landis in his 7th and final episode of the series. Needless to say, he does a great job once again.
Look into my eyes. Deeply, deeply. What do you see?
Dishonesty, cowardice, and a lack of scruples.
Too deep. Try again.
His henchman Rudy is played by regular director James Frawley. He's best known for his directing work on this show and the Muppets movie. He'd started out as an actor and had made a couple of cameos before, but this is definitely his biggest role in the series. He didn't direct this episode though. Also, I forgot to mention that he was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Directing for a Comedy Series for The Devil and Peter Tork in this season, which I think is very much deserved, but lost to Get Smart. However, he did win the year before, but for Royal Flush, which is literally my least favourite episode of the whole show. Despite the dumb henchman role, Frawley manages to prevent the role from feeling too much like what we've seen before. The club owner is played by Milton Froome, who's also one of the gambling crooks from the Season 1 episode, The Monkees on the Line. Burgess Meredith as the Penguin from the 1966 Batman series and movie. What are you doing here? Absolutely nothing? Oh, okay. The lads are great as usual. Peter does a great impression of me whenever I play a video game. Speaking of which, this is one of the only times we see this wall of the pad. Wait, why do they have these shackles? During the Mentalist show at the end of the episode, Mickey and Davey play 2 of the audience members for some reason. It's definitely not them in disguise or anything because we see them zonked out backstage immediately afterwards. I wonder if they just asked for more to do, so they gave them these little bits. This is the season where 2 of them got to direct after all. Mike is particularly funny during the romp where he pretends to be a rich man who has forgotten where he left his money. Speaking of which, there's a great romp to Valerie. You may remember this song from Season 1, but it wasn't actually released until their 5th album, The Birds, the Bees and the Monkees. There's some added brass, but I always thought that the Kink-style guitar riff sounded fine on its own. Which version do you prefer? If you'd like to hear my opinions on the albums, you can go over to my Patreon, Ko-Fi or YouTube memberships, where I'm reviewing all of their studio albums. We also hear an instrumental version of I'm Gonna Buy Me a Dog, alongside some of the lovely B-roll that they filmed for that song in Season 1, of them playing with dogs in the park. Well, the Backlots Park. The episode ends with a video for Daily Nightly, which I've discussed in previous videos. The short version is that it's a trippy song with poetic lyrics by Mike and lots of weird Moog synthesizer sounds from Mickey. And, of course, I have to talk about their clothes. We see these dark green versions of their iconic 8-button shirts. There's not that much else to talk about because this was clearly an earlier Season 2 episode, and they were still wearing their sort of Californian mod clothes. But look at this glowing chair! I'd spotted it in the background in an earlier video, so it's nice to get a good shot of it here. Despite the plot portion of this episode having a clear cold open scene, the episode actually opens with Mike Nesmith as Frank Zappa being interviewed by Frank Zappa as Mike Nesmith.
This is one of our cute numbers for the show.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be you, and you're supposed to be me, right?
You see the way we worked this out in advance?
For the last 3 episodes, 3 of the Monkees brought on a special guest. Davey had brought on composer Charlie Smalls, and they make fun of that interview here.
Your soul would emanate on the accented beats 1 and 3. My soul emanates on the accented beats 2 and 4.
I wanted to know where the soul of your music was. Is it on the 1 and the 7?
The soul of our music, the Monkees' music, lies somewhere in between the 1 1/2, the 2 1/2, the 3 3/4, and the giant C major chord on the piano.
Mike gets in a few jabs at how the Monkees are viewed.
Monkees' music, which appears to me to be banal and insipid.
After I quit the show, I'm going to join the Birds, don't ya?
I don't know much about Zappa, but he's almost certainly the coolest out of their guest stars. It's lovely and bonkers. They also play a few seconds of a song from Zappa's band, The Mothers of Invention, called Mother People. If you'd like to see me check out more of his stuff in a future video, such as one of his feature films, you can let me know in the comments below.
Let me take a minute to tell you who I am. If it doesn't show, then you better know I'm another person.
Oh, and there's the Kellogg's ad after the opening credits.
The Monkees, brought to you by Kellogg's.
When I initially watched the show, I saw the DVD cuts, and they almost certainly appeared more frequently on there. I just double-checked and it was only included on 3 of the episodes on Blu-ray. This one, the next one, and Monkees on Tour, as it was reshot for the 2nd series. This jingle is just permanently in my head now. K-E-double-L, O double good. Kellogg's best for you. Ding. By the way, let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a video on ads starring the Monkees at some point. They did rather a lot. This is a good episode, but it probably won't make my top 10. I'm putting this one above Monkees Mind Their Manor, but below Monkees in Paris. 2 mind ones back to back.
What kind of a warped, maniacal mind could be plotting such a conspiracy?
Oh, that kind of a warped mind. That'd do it.
Peter and the rest of the neighbourhood are frozen in their seats, hypnotised by a mysterious eye on their TV screen. It's up to Mickey, Mike and Davey to go down to the television studio and save the alien Frodis plant and defeat the evil wizard Glick, who plans on taking over the world. This episode is co-written and directed by Mickey Dolenz himself. He probably had the biggest career as a director after the Monkees. I think that Mike is the only other one to direct after the show, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Unlike Peter's episode, which was decent but not groundbreaking, this is one of the most experimental episodes of the whole show. This episode is the pinnacle of everything I like about late season 2 episodes. Fast-paced, meta, and full of gags. As I said in my brief history of the Monkees video, blimey, that was really 3 years ago? The 2nd season was more avant-garde with a newfound awareness of their adult following, which is definitely reflected in this episode. It features the titular Frodis, an unfairly demonised smoky plant that makes people peaceful and giggly.
I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to lay down in the grass and be cool.
Which is exactly what you think it's supposed to be. It's named after Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, if I remember rightly. The fact that Peter is the one who is most affected by its powers is something of an in-joke too, as Peter was the biggest user out of the 4 of them. Which is really saying something considering the state that they spent this season in.
Well, all we do is teach him to talk.
How?
What did you say?
There's a wonderfully low-rent feeling to all of this. especially the two-headed org, which is like something you'd see in the Mighty Boosh. It really adds to the absurdity. I really like how it's lit in the warehouse with all of the coloured lighting. As for the clothes, the black turtlenecks are cool, but Peter, as always, is bringing the colour with his psychedelic Nehru shirt. I've never decided whether or not I like Mike's red aviator glasses. What do you think? The evil Wizard Glick is played by camp comedian Rip Taylor, who previously appeared in the Monkees on the Wheel as the anxious casino manager.
212 green.
The winner! It's my own game. I don't know how he makes these things up just that well. I'm just sick.
Like all of the best villains, he really understands the assignment here. There's something wonderfully chaotic about his performance that fits the show like a glove.
My maniacally warped plan is almost complete at last.
His henchmen are played by a lot of regular Monkees bit players who are friends with the Monkees themselves, like David Pearl, David Price, Rick Klein, and Bruce Paul Barber. Klein and Price also played the two-headed org. The song during the chase scene in this episode is Zor and Zam, a song about two fickle kings who go to war. It isn't played elsewhere in the series, and I can see why. Not that the song isn't good, but it has a slow build, and it isn't really the kind of song that goes well with the chase romp filled with silly sight gags.
The king of Zor, he called for a war, and the king of Zam, he answered.
It's also different from the one that ended up on the album. It doesn't build up to that grandiose orchestral part at the end of the version on the Birds and the Bees and the Monkees, which I do think works better.
Nobody came.
The accompanying chase is shot in slow motion, with the shots slowly fading into one another. I think it overstays its welcome, but it's an interesting and inventive take on the classic romp. The cold open starts with the Rube Goldberg machine waking up the Monkees with Good Morning by the Beatles. I believe I'm right in thinking that this is the first time a Beatles song was used in a show that wasn't something Beatles related like the cartoon series. At least, I'm pretty sure Monkees claimed that. Feel free to correct me in the comments, Beatlemaniacs. What I do know, though, is that he was at the recording session for this, whilst Mike was at the orchestral recording for A Day in the Life, which you can see in the accompanying music video. Fun fact, this is what actually got me into the Monkees in the first place, because I recognised him from this magazine that I had that was a compilation of Melody Maker and NME interviews from 1967, and I recognised his little swooshy hair, and I decided to check them out based on the fact that he was there. Somehow, I almost forgot to tell you that one of my favourite songs of all time is played at the end of this episode, and, surprisingly, it's not a Monkees song. As you may remember, the previous two episodes had Monkees bringing on a friend in the music industry as a special guest. Davey brought on future whiz composer Charlie Smalls for a music lesson, whilst Mike Nesmith, played by Frank Zappa, interviewed Frank Zappa, played by Mike Nesmith. Mickey brought on Tim Buckley to sing his unreleased song, Song to the Siren.
Sail to me, let me enfold you.
For those of you who don't know, he was a folk singer who ended up experimenting with more genres in the 70s before his death in 1975, aged 28. He's also the father of musician Jeff Buckley, who similarly died young after an even shorter career in the 90s. Guys, I just feel so enchanted by this song. Yeah, I know that it's half of my username, but that's because it's one of my favourite feelings, and I think it's one of the hardest ones that a piece of art can make a disenchanted adult feel. He recorded it for his 1970 album Star Sailor, and whilst it's interesting with its experimental yet stripped down sound, for me, there's something hauntingly beautiful about this version, with the 12-string guitar and the softer vocals.
I did all my best to smile till you're singing eyes and fingers.
It's also been covered a lot since, most famously by This Mortal Coil, but I haven't heard one that compares to this, mainly because they're covers of that album version. which I think sort of clutters the vocals with more notes, if it makes sense. I'm not very knowledgeable about music, so I'm not really sure if I'm describing it right, but I'll just play it for you.
I did all my best to smile. I did all my best to smile.
I also like sea mythology, so the haunting lyrics are kind of my thing. Find a pier on a gloomy day, go to the end and listen to this song. Also play it at my funeral. The fact that I've just said that and the fact that I'm 27 has probably doomed me. Fingers crossed I make it through the year, guys. Oh, and the Kellogg's ad is back at the beginning. K-E-double-L-O-double-G Kellogg's best food. Ding. All in all, this is a brilliant episode and a great one to end the season on. I understand that there are people who don't like the looser, more experimental nature of season 2, but if, like me, you prefer that, then this is the pinnacle of that style. There's lots of great moments that I'm not covering in this review in case you somehow haven't seen it yet. And this is definitely a top tier episode. I love this episode so much that I've named my top Patreon and Ko-fi memberships tier after the Frodis Freedom Fighters, where you get a 25% discount on my merch store, as well as the chance to choose a film for me to review. I'm thinking of also making some Frodis merchandise. What do you think? This is a nightmare to put in my top 3, because it's so hard to compare Fairy Tale and The Devil and Peter Tork, especially as the latter is so different in what it's trying to achieve. I eventually decided to put it under it, but believe me, it was difficult. So, there we are. I've had a long journey with this, but I'm going to reflect on that at the end of my next video, in which I'm uploading my ranking of both seasons. The Season 1 ranking and the Monkees Take Manhattan review can only be reviewed in the USA because of copyright issues, so a lot of you will get to see that for the first time. In the meantime, if you've been watching this series from the very beginning, or this is your first time watching one of my videos, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If you're also a fan of the Beatles, you can watch me rank and review the combination of true crime, kitchen sink drama, and psychedelic lunacy that they produced with Apple Films right here. See you soon!